Boys and girls.
Okay. YouTube, what's up? You putting stupid messages like "don't fart in public." Oh, listen, you look really good with the golden light.
Yeah. The
Isn't that
golden boy,
awesome?
my golden shower. Yeah.
I hope not. Or do it outside. Okay, this is it. I'm going to attempt, as usual, to explain my wacky title. I think it might work. So it's all the fault of Dr. Tom Cohen, who's my favourite alternative doctor thinker on the planet. He and his cat, who is actually, his cat is the head of his academic advisory board. So, Dr. Tom gave a webinar recently, this week. I just listened to it this morning. And it's about a stiff person. They got workified because it used to be called stiff man syndrome, but they're nearly all women, so they thought maybe we should call it stiff person with correct pronouns fore and after. So it's very rare. He said he never came across it when he was still practicing, but Diane Celine, she did the Titanic, didn't she?
Oh, the director of this
No,
one.
the singer.
Oh,
Anyway, it doesn't matter, but anyway, she announced that she's graduated to becoming a stiff person. And it's really horrendous because it's a syndrome where your muscles contract uncontrollably to the point where they can even break your bones. It's like Charlie horses amped up. And of course, the conventional doctors decided that that must be an autoimmune thing like all the other crap. But it's actually bullshit for the following reason. The antibodies associated with it, the conventional papers are, look, we got this causation in 66% of patients. So nothing causes it in 33%. And it's all back to front and but before penis and all the rest of it, as they say. So Dr. Tom went through, because somebody wrote into him and said, what would you do if you were treating a stiff person? And so he went into Jeffrey Pollock's experiments about muscle contraction, because as you hopefully know, there's no such thing as a synapse in thank you, Gecko, in nerves. Nerves are actually just threads of structured water that transmit energy extremely fast. If you scratched your or touched your finger or something like that, it would take about 4 seconds of chemical diffusion and blah 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 to transmit along the nerve. And so instead, it's an artifact, as usual, of histology. So, when I went into my father's lab, full of microscopes and blocks of wax and stains and blah, blah, blah. And he also had an electron microscope at the University of Leeds. This is back in the 60s. And there it's like they used metals and all sorts of stuff, and they vacuum it. I mean, they just bring in so many artifacts. So the only stuff you can see that's physiologically correct is dark field microscopy in living tissue, which is still very difficult to do. So, I remember in medical school we were taught, the pictures of the actin and the myosin and all these junctions, and then it fires and then moves linearly and connects to a new place, and that's a contracted muscle. And he said there were 8 papers that showed that linear thing, so-called. But when Gerald Pollack did his experiments, first time he fell into the same trap. But I think it's because there are different compartments of the muscle acting as one piece of tissue. And so you can get the effect of a linear thing, but actually each contraction is instantaneous. And it's got nothing to do directly with ATP. For starters, the actin and myosin are vertical to the muscle. So, you'd think if what they were saying was true, they would have to run on the fiber, but actually they're antenna, which is very interesting. So that's how they're receiving the message from upstairs, if there's anyone home, to tell you energetically to contract now. So, why would anyone become stiff? Particularly a woman.
Because the hormonal...
Men become stiff quite often.
Because the hormonal and chemical fields that communicate between the
Close. What actually is going on is, if you get injected from a early age, thank you very much, from day one of your birth, and you eat crappy food full of aluminium. Yes, that was in your honor, Martin.
That was in my honor?
You're the only non-European here, so it's like mostly for you. I said aluminum.
I don't
use aluminum to cook with.
No, but I said the word. You
To make
used
it
the
to-
word.
Oh, instead of aluminium. I had to-
Like real people say.
Real people. Are you
Well,
saying
we're
I'm not
associated-
real?
Yeah, you're not.
He's
You're a colonialist, dude. We're
I'm a separatist.
No, you didn't get separated. You only think you did. You get centrally banned.
We did. We
Several
got banned.
times. Thanks to...
Getting
Her
banned
Majesty.
is not like being banned.
I hope not. Well, it is eventually. Anyway, so here we are. We have the antenna, and you have all these heavy metals. And so what happens when you degrade to the point that you get charley horses from lack of minerals, the ionic content of the muscle tissue is overwhelmed with calcium and underwhelmed with magnesium. And so they sort of, in a medical fantasy world where they make up stories and tell everyone it's the truth, they conflate different phenomena. What's actually going on is a contracted state is a state where the water is structured and gel is formed, and it's instantaneous. And the destructured state is when it's unstructured and becomes soft. So in fact, Gerald Pollack wrote 4 papers where he showed that it's instantaneous, complete structuring and then destructuring. So if you have lots of medically approved vaccine adjuvants and others in your muscle tissue, it interferes with the antenna. It's a bit like having noise around a receiver, and so you don't receive the right information. So you fire off a trigger at the wrong time. And the antibodies are there associated with the body attempting to heal, like it does. So excuse me, it's correlated with people at the stage of their syndrome where the body's trying to clear it out. But Dr. Cohen says, you know, it's a metal detoxing. What you have to do is the opposite of calling it an autoimmune disease and postulating all sorts of bullshit about it. I mean, it's so back to front. What would you say that the healing process is the cause and you have to stop the healing process? I mean, it's like,
Ludicrous.
but then that's how you cure pigs. Or how pigs cure you, if you're in trouble with the police. So, what do? One uses infrared, otherwise known as the Paralight. Gecko uses his, I use mine. And I was having nighttime cramps, and I tried all sorts of strategies to increase my magnesium, because magnesium is the most efficient ion. You know, that's basically the best way of looking at it. You have to have this mixture of ions for the thing to work. And in the middle of the night, so I'd get a Charlie horse, and then I just took my pad and I put it on my calf, and it cleared up. So what's going on is the infrared of the pad was releasing the toxic structured water in the harmonizing it, so then the muscle released and the pain went away. It's really effective. So all Michael, you have pads. All the boys have pads. Very good. So if you ever do get it, I'd suggest that. And I have had a breakthrough thanks to my daughter Tamsin, who was buying in the UK the salve thing with magnesium in it, and applying it to the bottom of the feet like you would with a patch or in a foot bath, because those channels are very open. And so I made my own. I got shea butter, and I have all sorts of forms of magnesium, but I knew from a friend of mine that magnesium chloride is the smallest and most absorbable, but you can't take it internally. It's like really bad for you. So I made the shea butter magnesium chloride thing, and I just put it on the soles of my feet, and it works really, really well. And so anyway, that's using IR. So you go in a sauna to melt the gel. That's the whole thing about saunas. They heat up the body so the jelly melts, and then the body can clear out the heavy metals and stuff that shouldn't be there. So IR, otherwise known as the Happy Paralight, it's a really good approach. And you know, once I understood what he was saying, it's like, oh, that's why it's harmonizing the structure of the muscle. It's why it's working. I don't know why. I just thought it was maybe a relaxing signal. Okay, number two.
Just on that magnesium, which is interesting you said that, the calcium and the magnesium. I've recently been taking ceremonial cacao, and the amount of magnesium in that is
huge.
amazing.
Yes, chocolate of the gods. I mean, if you're Montezuma, you take 40 cups of cacao a day. I mean, that's pretty hardcore.
Yes, amazing. I mean, you feel so relaxed as well. It's
Oh,
You look it.
magnesium relaxes.
I thought it was just the demons from ayahuasca that was relaxing.
I'm very relaxed from that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Did they have hot pokers that they stuck in?
Totally, straight up the rear.
Anyone home? No.
Yeah,
That's the doorbell.
Ding ding, exactly. Yeah, well.
We're coming for you.
Yes.
They came for you.
Good.
They returned parts of you, which is very nice. Anyway, number two is one drinks the highest quality pure water. And Dr. Tom he like stacks everything together. So You know, I have a like 5 or 6 stage process. The water's pumped up from like 40 meters down into my holding tank, so it gets grounded there. Then it goes through a mechanical structure as it gets pumped out. Then it goes through the steeple filter. Then it goes into my distiller. And then it goes into my bifractal carafe to get structured that way on top of the, you can see it flashing behind it. Yeah, there it goes, flashing in the back. So that's Pyrolite with amplified red and violet light. So it goes there, and then it goes into a glass, and then goes into Michael and Guy.
Tastes great.
And I always was skeptical about the distillation because there's this, you know, all these skeptics, they come up with bullshit, half-truths, and then say this is the absolute way that you have to have ions in your water. Well, the ions have to be bioavailable, and you can drink as much mineral ions that's non-chelated, in other words, not in biological form, and the body won't absorb it, just goes through you. So anyway, that's how we do it. So there we go. So I think we can celebrate not being a stiff person, because we keep our muscles working as transmission from the brain thingy, and then instantaneous. Because you know, if you have as one does, a fly coming to you, you blink your eye like 100 times faster than if there was a transmission of electrical energy.
It's like automatic, isn't it?
Well, it's instantaneous, because
Yeah.
as soon as the rods and cones see it, they trigger the circuit. So it's just like an electrical switch rather than a mechanical switch. So I would say we have been tweedled
Tweeble.
for the second time, and hopefully successfully. And if anyone wants
That's
to
actually
follow,
a great picture.
it is. If anyone wants to follow this, which would be very welcome, please follow Pyrolite Guy, PYRALIGHTGUY, one word, at Pyrolite Guy on the Tweedles place, and then your hordes of followers will be following this, which is very nice. So thank you, Mr. YouTube. I hope you have a very nice weekend. And now I know how to stop this. I use my finger onto...
Bye-bye, girls and boys.
Are you sure? Yes. Stop streaming. Bye-bye. So I'm getting a little bit better.